Retrenchment talks between the SABC and unions have broken down. The commissioners of the CCMA have expressed disappointment that the parties could not find each other. The SABC declined an interview, saying consultations are still ongoing. President of the Broadcasting Electronic Media Allied Workers Union, or BAMAO, Hannes de Buisson, joins me now via Zoom. A very good evening to you, Mr. de Buisson, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So, what aspect of it has caused this deadlock?
Well, I think what has happened is that the SABC has started to present its structure. Previously or earlier in this week, we met with them. That structure was presented in a very haphazard way, and to the extent that we requested the SABC to, because that is really the meat of this consultation process, and we requested the SABC to slow down on their presentation, to redo it, to identify the redundant positions in that particular structure. And that was also a very strong recommendation of the Commissioner earlier in the week. We continued today with that structure. We interrogated the structure. We asked questions on clarity. And unfortunately, at the end of today, the SABC took a very almost an arrogant stance to say that they will not agree to any further meetings with the consulting parties in this process, and that we basically are going to be given an opportunity to ask questions of clarity on the outstanding structures and make our submissions to them. They've refused to meet with us further. The CCMA, two of the CCMA Commissioners, the two commissioners involved in this process, expressed their disappointment. They in fact confirmed that good progress was made in today's meeting. So we suspect that the SABC is currently just following a tick box exercise.
Let's talk about that tick box exercise. It's around the corporate plan. You have argued that you believe that the SABC has met its target of reducing numbers, including on saving on costs. Why do you believe that, if they believe that they still have 100 outstanding that they want to chop?
Yes, well, that's not what they believe. We, in terms of the figures that has been contained in their corporate plan, they are about 100 employees short of what they have set in their corporate plan. And remember, the corporate plan is approved by the minister. It goes through an entire process. It's a legal document binding the SABC. And in terms of that particular corporate plan, the SABC has reached their target. They are 100 short. They were not interested in that argument. They were simply saying that that happens as a result of natural attrition, people who resigned, went on pension and so on, and that they persist with the attitude that they still want to cut jobs of about 600 permanent employees of the SABC. We have interrogated the particular structure of the SABC, and between earlier this week and today, some more positions disappeared from the structure. So our concern is that this is not a well thought out process, that it is premature, as we have said, and that there may be ulterior motives on the side of the SABC when they say that they want to get rid of these people. The structure has not been finalized in any shape or form. They've not done job evaluations. They've not done job descriptions. So we do not know. Employees would not know how certain of those positions would look like in future.
And you say that this corporate plan is a legally binding document, but the SABC does not think so.
They initially did not think so, or they initially said so. It was later confirmed that, in fact, it is a legal document. It is binding them. But their argument is that if they overperform in terms of this corporate plan, why should they then stick to that? So it's a very simplistic argument from the SABC side. Surely when you talk about revenue and you overperform in terms of that, then no one would care about that. But if the Minister and the Portfolio Committee has approved a corporate plan that says this is the number of employees that you want to cut, then you are bound by that. And they didn't think so.
Okay, so what happens next?
Well, what happens next is that the information that we've gathered from them in terms of the structure will be presented to SABC employees. We will invite them to give their input, their views around that. We have raised the issue of very tight deadlines that the SABC has set around us responding to that. We all know that there's quite a number of employees currently that is working remotely, so it's difficult to get people together. But nevertheless, the employees will be required to give their input, and that will be submitted to the SABC. And at the end of that process, in terms of the law, they are required and compelled to respond in writing when we do that. And if we are not happy with the outcome of that process, which we are not, then we would be heading either for the Labour Court with an urgent interdict, or employees must make the choice whether they want to go on strike.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, Sinus Buisson from Bamau. The Communication Workers Union was invited to speak to us, but unfortunately they were not able to do so. But Mr. Buisson, just before we go, let's just talk about Parliament, what's expected to unfold next.
If your question is what is going to unfold next, as I've said, we are going to present the information to employees, and we require that they then give their input. What is of concern, and I need to note that, is that there was a constant communication from the side of the SABC that it has a bloated structure, it is bloated on management in at least two of the presentations that we have seen today. In fact, people on what is called a 120 level, that is above general manager or general manager level, the SABC has increased those positions instead of cutting down on those positions. In the commercial enterprises division, that was one of the concerns, where I think 4 more of those employees have. The proposal is that those people be appointed in those positions, and that is exactly the concern that the SABC themselves has raised. The other issue is the fact that today, they have admitted, in fact, that where they've previously said that people are on a so-called managerial level and those people must go because there's no people reporting to them, today they've in fact confirmed what we have been saying all along, that those people are specialist people. So there is no anomaly in respect of the fact that those people are on those more senior type of scales. But it seems that when it suits the SABC, they go with that argument. If it doesn't, then they argue differently. So it was, and it is still quite a painful process. We've been struggling to get information out of the SABC as we speak. There's some information that we've not received from them, and we will obviously then decide how we're going to exercise our rights in terms of that.
Thank you so much for repeating that. Hannes de Buisson, thank you very much from Bamau. A look at your headline.